Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. In this video, we're going to have a look at vocal tuning using Auto-Tune 8. Firstly, if you are new to my channel and new to my videos and you like what you see, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. So Auto-Tune 8, it's not the latest version out there. This is an older video. This is the version of software that I currently have. This is the more powerful version of Auto-Tune compared to the previous video where I had EFX, the cut down version. This is the more powerful one. This gives you the greater flexibility when it comes to tuning, etc. It allows you to go more into the subtle realms of vocal tuning, but it still gives you that extreme auto-tune effect that everybody, well, I assume everybody knows what that sound is like. So let's just get into it and I'll show you what it's about. So as you can see, we have a lot more settings on this one than we did on the previous one, but we can see some obvious things here that are still going on. So we still have the ability to do this automatically, hence the name Auto-Tune. And we have our input settings here, which we get an extra instrument there. But again, we're just going to stick with these here. So we might go alto tenor again. We have our tracking, and there's a little bit more of an explanation in this one, in the manual. So they refer to that if you have a clean solo take of, say, a vocal, then setting it to 50 is fine, and you just do that and leave it. The only time you might go to more of a choosy setting or relaxed setting is in material where it's a bit noisy or it's a live take, somewhere where it needs to be aware that not everything is going to want to be heard. We also have the ability to look at stereo tracks now, and we can select which side of the stereo track to reference in regards to tuning. So defaults to left, we're going to leave it at that. I'm not too phased about that one at all. We have a low latency setting here, so this is fine if you want to turn Auto-Tune on while you're tracking or doing live performances. Again, this is not a setting that I would generally use because I don't do this when I'm tracking or anything like that. This is all after the fact for me. We can set our key again and our scale. As you can see here, we have a lot more scales here. So this tool here can work with lots and lots of stuff. Majority of people are going to concentrate on these top three, and we can even detune and set our values precisely if we want to set a different tuning number. And we can even transpose the entire performance. We can transpose it up or down, whichever way you want. So not only can we tune the vocals, but we can automatically transpose them to a different level. So we have some advanced settings here. We can enable the formant correction, and when we do that, we can modify the throat length. So we start to actually change the quality and the sound of the vocal itself, not just the notes. We're changing the sound of it now. When the formant's off, that's grayed out. So again, we've got some more advanced features here. So over here we have two correction modes. We have auto and we have graph. So you see if I switch to graph, we start to go to this more manual approach as opposed to auto. So we'll stay in auto at the moment, just so you can see the comparison to the cheaper version. We've got some option settings here, which just brings up another window. And then we've got our retune speed here. Again, we've got slow, fast, that's pretty much the same as the EFX version. We have some more advanced settings here. So we have the correction style, we have natural vibrato, and again, we have our harmonize that we had similar before, and targeting ignores vibrato. So the retune setting here works the same pretty much as in EFX. So it's defaulting to 20 here. We can slow it down, or we can speed it up to 0 to get the auto tune effects going on there. So the correction style setting here basically allows you to go from the default, which is classic. So this is the normal old style of auto tune tuning, where it automatically pulls everything up to a desired scale note, or however you've got these settings, and you can wind that up to here, where you start to get into the flex tune. And flex tune is their new method here, where they're stating that it tunes notes, but it allows some expressiveness of the vocalist to remain transparent and not affected by the auto tuning of it. And we can wind it all the way up to where we get to no correction at all. So our humanize setting here works the same as in EFX. This is just determining between short notes and long notes so that it becomes a little bit more natural. And then we have a natural vibrato setting here, which allows you to determine how much of the natural vibrato comes through, or whether you want to increase the amount of vibrato in the vocal or decrease the amount of vibrato in the vocal. So this setting here, targeting ignores vibrato, is an attempt to allow the plugin to differentiate between somebody does very wide sweeping vibrato moves as opposed to note changes. So with it off, it's just going to assume that anything big enough is a note change. But if we tick this on, then it's going to look at it, and if it believes that it's not actually a note change, but it's a very wide sweeping vibrato technique, then it's going to ignore that and not try to tune it to the notes. So as we change our scales and settings here, you'll see this window here changes, and we can add and remove notes. We can bypass notes. So we're going to use these settings here is to actually modify the pre-built scales. So if we set a major scale here, we may want to actually adjust that. We might say, okay, but we don't like certain things here. Let's adapt it. Now you've got either an option of bypass or remove, or nothing at all, which means it's set. Okay, so it's actually on if nothing's on. So what's the difference between bypass and remove? Okay, so remove actually removes that note from the tuning. So what that means is that it can't tune to C in this case. It's going to push everything up to D or down to B. Bypass allows the note to retain its C, but what it does is it doesn't tune it. So if it believes it's at the note C or close to it, but slightly off tune, it will just ignore it. And you might do that because you might have certain notes that you want to leave for expressiveness or something like that. Or another technique that it states in the manual to do is that if you have a song where there's only one note in the entire region or the entire song that is out of tune, and you don't want this to really do anything but that one note, then you can bypass every other note in here except for that one that needs to be fixed. And that way this plugin will do nothing until it gets that one note. Now, if we go down to the keyboard here, we even have the ability to be able to do some stuff on the keyboard. We can click on notes here, and that is set to remove at the moment. If we switch it over to bypass, I can click on notes. So if you prefer to work on a virtual keyboard like this, because that's how you work in music and you understand it better, as opposed to looking at note values and things like that, then you can do that from here. And it depends on the setting that you put there. You can switch between them. We also have a section over here to allow us to add vibrato to a vocal take or an instrument take, whatever. I'm not really going to go into this because this is a little bit beyond tuning. This is starting to get into some more artistic decisions here, but you can see we can just turn it on, pick the waveform we want for the vibrato, and then start to play with the settings, the rate, this delays, pitch, amplitude, etc. Okay, so let's have a play with it in auto mode and see what sort of results we can get from this.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So you can see as this is going, you'll see notes being hit on the keyboard this time, being lit up, and you'll also see the pitch change on the meter here.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you, it'll kill you nice and slow. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it go. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you, it'll kill you nice and slow. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it go. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it go. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you, it'll kill you nice and slow. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it go. Just let it go, baby, gotta let it go. I know he hurt you, he went and broke your heart with a girl with no values, but now they're apart. Life is a circle, it goes round and round and round. Proves the grass ain't greener on the other side of town. So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go.
So you can see there you can get some very interesting effects with the formant and the throat length on there. Not really part of tuning, but definitely something interesting and can be used quite well, especially in a lot of pop and EDM tracks where they're constantly playing with vocals and making them sound weird. So you'll notice there that I was definitely getting a lot better results with the flex tune, but also what that was seeming to do is it's not necessarily tuning all of the notes to the right notes, or it's not even attempting to, so it's letting them go through. So it's tuning a little bit, but it's letting some pass through. So we're getting better results, and we've got a lot more flexibility. You know, would take a lot of playing with to get this going right, and it's sounding a lot better. So definitely, I guess if I was going to buy an auto-tune version, whether EFX or the full version, if you can afford it, I would definitely go for the full version. Let's have a look at the graph mode now and see what we can do in that. So in the graph mode here, we have two main settings that we need to be aware of. One is this button here for track pitch, and the other one is track pitch and time. So you need to make a decision up front which one we would prefer to use. If we think we need the ability to be able to edit the timing of notes and things like that, then we're going to want to track pitch and time. But if we're only looking at tuning and not going to do any timing edits, etc., then just track pitch is fine. So once we pick that, then what we do is, so we click on that, it's ready to go. You can see it's flashing like it's a recording, and we can press play in our DAW.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you gotta let it go. Otherwise it's gonna get you. It'll kill you nice and slow. Just let it go. Baby, gotta let it go. Just let it go. Baby, gotta let it go.
So once we stop it, obviously now we've stopped, we've got the waveform here. We can zoom in to have a closer look. We can zoom up and out, and we can move around to see what we're looking at here and to look at our waveforms. The big question for me would have been, can we adjust the size of this window to make it more visible? And I can't really find. Yes, we can. So we can make this bigger, which is good because that was a little bit small. So you'll see up here we've got various tools for working in this environment. So we have the line tool, we've got a curve tool that we can use to draw curves. We have the note tool, we have our arrow tool, which we can use to drag things around. We've got our scissor tool here that we can use to cut things up as we're going along. If we need to trim them or snip them in half. Magnifying glass here, we can zoom into various spots and various other tools there. With Auto-Tune, there's a bit of a learning curve with this. It's a little bit tricky to get around. It's taken me a little while to work this out myself. So we've got our notes in here, and you can see the waveforms here and where they're sitting on there. So if we play a section, so if we just say this, let's just concentrate on this bit here.
So if you want the world to smile with.
So we can clearly hear this note here is definitely out. So if we just want to target and do this manually as we're doing in the graph here, that's what we can do. So we can do numerous ways here. We can do it all manually. So we can click on here and we can drag a note. And we could say, okay, I want the note to be, let's say here. And we just draw it. And what it does is it automatically pulls this section up to that note.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
Okay, but we might not be happy with that. We might want to move it more.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then you.
So I'm actually hearing this note here as being wrong. So let's have a look at that.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
So the refresh of this screen here is not helping me very much to work this out. That's a little bit annoying. So I'm struggling with that at the moment. Let's turn this auto scroll off and see if that makes it better.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then
the cursor's not helping me find where the notes are.
so if you want the world to smile with you.
So we're definitely looking at this one here.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then
there's obviously a lot of latency in this because it's not that note at all. It's actually this note here. It's not picking it up. But so the point is that you can draw a note. You can make it as long or as short as you want. You can just target a little section here. So you can just go along and go, okay, that note's out of tune. Draw it on where you want it. Bang, it automatically pulls it up. The other way you can do it is that you can use this setting here and you can select a section, or say for instance we want to set this selection here, and then we can click on make curve, and what that does is it draws the exact waveform again, but now we have the ability to move it as it is. So it's not drawing an exact note, it's just drawing the curve of the actual waveform, and we can move that to where we want to place it. So we could say move it there.
so if you want the world to smile with you.
So we can continue to go along and move these and go make curve, and then adjust the notes to suit. And the settings down here, the retune speed and the adjust vibrato, apply to these notes as they're being tuned. So we can change this setting to get it more natural or a little bit faster, but not quite as fast.
So if you want the world to smile with you.
So that's the way they envisage that you use this plugin. You just go along and you pick what you want to tune and you select it and you move the notes around to get the right settings. Now, I imagine that if you can see exactly what you've done, so I've just turned on this option here that says show lanes. So I guess that's giving me a better, clearer idea. So with it off like that, it's not as clear where the notes are. So this is definitely a better view now. I can see where the notes are now, which is a lot better. So I can see that note's in there. That one there, you can see is down here. So you might say it should be up here. But what you can also do is, say for instance, you want to grab a bigger section here. So let's say we want to do this whole note here. And we're going to make curve. We could move it up and down like this, but what we can also do is grab one of the sides and bring the side down, and we level that note out. Or obviously grab the other side, we're going to do it. So we've leveled it a bit there. And now we can move it like that, and we get a different value altogether.
So if you want the world to smile with you, then
so we can bring that note down there. We can adjust the vibrato on that to make it a bit less, so it's not so pitchy on that spot. And these settings here, the retune and the adjust, they're working on each one individually. So if you want to change the vibrato on one, you can do it on that, or you can increase it.
so if you want the world to smile with you, then
So I think with a bit of practice, you could get some really good results with this. It's definitely a lot more powerful than the other version, and you've got a lot more control. I will admit that I am really struggling with this plugin. The graphics on it are not very good. You can see that it's not keeping up with the redraws. It's very hard to see where the notes are, and I'm really struggling to sort of get this to where I want it to be. Unlike when I did it in Melodyne and VariAuto, which seemed a lot more intuitive and a lot easier to do. But again, I will take it that that's a bit of my issue, that I'm not used to this tool and I need a bit of practice. But I guess from an initial look, this plugin is going to take a bit of learning if you want to start doing things manually. If you want to use the auto function, then obviously things are a lot simpler. You've got a lot more control, as I said. So if you want to use an auto tune in auto mode, I would still suggest this version because you're going to get more natural results. And also you get the ability of having all of these other advanced features, throat length, and going into graphic mode and that. But the price difference is obviously a lot. So there you go. That is Auto-Tune 8. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Do you use Auto-Tune? Do you hate Auto-Tune? Everybody has a love-hate sort of relationship with this sort of tool. I think it has its place, used rightly, used wrongly, whatever you want to do. You know, I think Auto-Tune has a place in the market. Obviously, people still buy it. So let me know what you think of it in the comments. You know, I'd love to hear your opinion on that and how you use it with your vocals in your music. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'd love to help wherever I can. If you found the video useful, please click the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos. Hopefully the video has been helpful. I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.